Hi, in today's video I'm going to be talking about how you can hide the firefox.temp snap directory in your downloads folder. And this will work both in graphical programs and on the command line. And this technique can be used to hide any folder or file both in graphical and command line programs on Linux. So the issue is the snap version of Firefox creates this folder called firefox.temp in your downloads folder. What I'm going to do is show you how to hide this in the file manager, in the ls command. So when you type ls in the terminal, it will hide it. Also in ZSH completions, so that when you're using a program like MPV in the downloads folder and you press tab, it's not going to offer firefox.temp as a file you can actually play. And also how you can hide the firefox.temp folder in the Emacs diode file manager. So first of all, Nautilus. Now Nautilus is the file manager that comes with Ubuntu. And what we can do is create a folder called .hidden in the downloads folder. And this .hidden file is going to contain a list of files that will be hidden from the file manager. So to hide the firefox.temp directory, all we need to do is actually put firefox.temp in this .hidden file in the downloads folder. And the way we can do that is very simple. We're just going to echo firefox.temp into downloads.hidden. So first of all, I'll open the file manager, and I've done that step already. And as you can see here, there's no firefox.temp directory. Now if I press Ctrl H on the keyboard, that's going to toggle showing and hiding hidden files. And what you will see here is that it's now showing the firefox.temp directory and the .hidden file. Typically when you press the Ctrl H key in Nautilus, it's going to toggle showing all the dot files, as it were. So if I'm in my home directory and I press Ctrl H, you'll see here it's now showing all my dot files. So it's the same idea with the downloads folder. We've got this .hidden file here, and as you can see, it's just got one line, firefox.temp, and basically that will then hide this firefox.temp folder. And say this technique can be used to hide any file or folder in the Nautilus file manager. All you need to do is create the .hidden file in the directory that you want to hide files in and put in a list of the file names, and that's it. So that's the first tip, how to hide the firefox.temp directory in the graphical file manager, which is Nautilus in this case. Again, we just press Ctrl H. It's going to toggle showing and hiding the files. So the next step is actually hiding the Firefox temp directory in the terminal. And the way we're going to do that is using the creating an alias of the ls command. So what we're going to do is alias the ls command to ls --hide equals firefox.temp. Now there's two ways you can hide files with the ls command. There's --ignore and there's --hide. The difference is that ignore will completely ignore the file or folder, and you won't be able to list it at all. But the --hide option allows you to view the file using the -a flag. So what I'll do is switch across to the terminal and go into the downloads directory. And if I just type ls, you'll see that there's nothing listed. If I type ls-a, you'll see that it's now showing the firefox.temp directory and the .hidden file. So the .hidden file was for the Nautilus file manager I showed in the previous step. But basically, even if I'm not in the downloads directory and I run ls downloads, it's not going to list the Firefox temp directory. But if I pass in the -a flag, it will list the both the hidden file and the firefox.temp file. So to do that, basically all we needed to do was create a alias for ls. ls equals ls dash dash hide equals firefox.temp, and we're going to add that to our .zshrc file or bash rc file if we're using bash, and then source that file, and that will hide the Firefox temp file using the ls command. Now the next step is hiding the Firefox temp directory from ZSH completions, and what this is used for is when you press tab after you've run a command. Like if I'm in the download directory and I've downloaded some videos and I want to play them with MPV, typically I'm going to run MPV, press tab and then cycle through the videos. What this does is it will suppress firefox.temp as being offered as a completion for files that you can play. So obviously you don't want to play the firefox.temp directory with MPV. So if I switch to the terminal again and I've got nothing in here, and if I just type MPV, press tab, it's actually offering to play the .hidden file there, you can see, because that's the only file in the directory. When you're in a directory and you press tab, it's going to cycle through the files. Let me just copy a video. Okay, let me just copy a video in there. So as you can see, I've just got one video file. The idea is that if I press tab, it's now offering as completion both these files, the video file and this .hidden file. So that's another thing, is that I need to exclude the .hidden files from ZSH completion. So let's try and do that. So what I want to do is switch across to my ZSH RC file, and what we're going to do is add this to a list of things that should be hidden and be ignored from completion. So let's switch back and see if this will now ignore that. If I source that file, MPV, okay, that's better. Right, so what we've done is we've added the .hidden file to the list of files we don't want to complete. We don't want to offer as a completion because we're in a downloads directory. We've downloaded a load of videos, and typically press MPV. You've got video 1, 2, 3. You might tab to cycle through a list of videos you can play. And what's happening is ZSH is offering a list of completions, files that we can play. We want to ignore the firefox.temp directory, and in step 1 we set that to be ignored in the file manager by creating this .hidden file. But then what was happening was when we were running MPV and pressing tab, it was offering the .hidden file as a file to play. So we needed to exclude that as well. So now what we've got is these two hidden files, .hidden and and Firefox temp, and we've excluded both of those from the completion, so that when we run MPV and press tab, we're only going to be offered files that we can actually play and that we've downloaded, as opposed to .hidden text file in the Firefox temp directory. So that's the completions. Now the completions only seem to work in the actual directory that I'm in. So if I switch back to home and then run MPV downloads, actually offering these two as media files. So I'm not sure if there's an additional sort of setting I need to add so that these work more globally as opposed to just when you're in the downloads folder. But to be honest, it's not too much of an issue. You're probably going to be in the folder where you want to play stuff from, so it's not too much of an issue. But that's how we can set ZSH completions to ignore the Firefox temp folder. And finally, what we've got, actually, while I'm there, why don't I actually add that bit of code to the document as I'm going. Okay. And let's stage that and push that GitHub while we're at it. Okay, so we've updated the documentation there. And finally, what I wanted to look at is omitting files with Dired, the Emacs directory editor. So if I switch to my in there. Okay, so I switched to my home folder here, and what I've got is a keyboard shortcut allows me to toggle files basically. So at the moment you can see there's just the directories, and if I press Control X Meta O, it toggles showing the hidden files, the .files. Now if I go into the downloads directory, you'll see it's only listing the video file there, but if I toggle the files, you'll see it's now showing the .hidden file and the Firefox temp directory. So the way we did that was by adding this bit of code to our Emacs configuration file, and basically this uses dired X rather, and so what we've done is we've created a keyboard shortcut which is Control X Meta O, and first of all we got required dired X, and we add this bit of code here, set q dired emit files and cat dired emit files. And the first section here between these two pipes is for omitting the .file, so that when we're in our home directory we just have the directories listed, and then we can toggle the .files. And the second bit down here is how we toggle the how we exclude the Firefox temp directory as well. So that's how we can come in here into downloads. By default it's going to hide that Firefox temp directory, so that when we're in dired we don't actually try and sort of do something with it, accidentally delete it while we're using Firefox or something. Now the other issue is if you're using Emacs dired, and this only takes effect when you're in dired in that directory. So if I run Control X F and do downloads, you'll see that it's actually listing Firefox temp as a file in there. But if I go into the directory, it's actually excluded from the view, and I can toggle that on and off like that. So let's go back and have a quick recap of how we did all this. We've got 4 things. We've got Nautilus, which was the file manager. So we wanted to hide the Firefox temp snap directory in downloads, and we did that by creating a .hidden directory in the downloads folder. And again, this technique can be used to hide any file or any folder in Linux in the Nautilus file manager. You just create the .hidden file in the directory and list the files that you want to hide. Basically all we had to do was echo firefox.temp into downloads.hidden. Once we did that, we open the file manager. You'll see that that's now hidden. Again, if I press Control H, it's going to toggle showing hidden files. We can see the Firefox temp.hidden file, which just contains firefox.temp. So if I was to add tune.mp4, which is the name of that file, it would then hide that. So tune.mp4, save, and you can now see that that file's been hidden as well. Open it up again, move that, save it, Control H, So now it's only showing that one file. And that was the Nautilus file manager. Second step was the ls command, and again, basically all we had to do, one line of code. We add to our bash rc or our zhrc file, alias ls equals alias space dash dash hide equals firefox.temp in quotes. And again, the other option is ignore, which ignores that file completely and won't allow you to list it. But the hide option allows you to list the file using the -a flag. So again, if I run ls, just listen to the video. If I run ls-a, you now see that it's showing both the .hidden file and the firefox.temp folder. And again, this works even if you're outside the directory, so that wherever you are, even if I'm on desktop and run ls downloads, it's still ignoring that firefox.temp directory. So next one again was the zsh completion, and what we're doing here is ignoring both the firefox.temp directory and the .hidden file that we created for Nautilus. So basically what we've got here is this block of code, zsh completions, sort of files to ignore, and we're ignoring firefox.temp and .hidden in single quotes there. And again, what that does is when I'm in the downloads directory, I'm using npv, and now I press tab, it's only going to offer that video file as a completion and not the .hidden file or the Firefox temp directory. Again, this zsh completion can be used to exclude any other file you want, and you also have a sort of regular expression syntax, but in this case I'm just specifically naming the files that I want to exclude. But again, this can be used to exclude anything from completion. So if you've got any particular file that's always popping up in your list of completions that you don't want to have there, this is how you'd exclude it. So just add that to your zsh-rc file and then source your zsh-rc file, and it will no longer pop up in the list of completions. And then finally we had Emacs dired, and this is to exclude the firefox.temp directory from the dired listings. Again, pressing Ctrl X and Meta O will toggle showing and hiding the files. So we just basically added this to our Emacs config, require dired X, omit those files, omit the .files from the firefox.temp directory. And again, if I just come back to my home, see I can toggle those on and off like that. So that's how it's going to, by default, exclude that firefox.temp directory in the dired listings in your downloads folder, so you don't accidentally select it or delete it or something, you know, while you're using Firefox and downloading a file and it stops it downloading, or you know, whatever. So that's how you can get around that issue with Emacs. So those are the 4 options for cleaning up the firefox.temp directory that's created when you install Firefox as a snap on Ubuntu. I did a video earlier on about setting the dark mode on Firefox, the supported sites, so that when you go to Google and YouTube, you're automatically going to use the dark theme that you've got selected on your system. And what I found is that only worked with the snap version of Firefox and not the Flatpak version. So that's why I created this video, is because I've switched from using the Flatpak version of Firefox to the snap version. Also, there's 2 other issues with the Firefox Flatpak version I mentioned in that video, is that magnet links don't work. I can't get magnet links to work for torrents in the Flatpak version, and also the Flatpak version breaks local websites, so that if you have an HTML page with an image in it, in the same directory as the HTML page, and you open the HTML page, what happens is it doesn't display the image. It only displays the actual page, not the image that was referenced. I covered that in the previous video. So that's why I made the video about how to get rid of this firefox.temp directory from file listings, both graphical programs, command line programs, because I've switched to using the Snap version of Firefox. It's just something that's been bugging me for forever and ever, I wanted a way to hide that folder both on the command line and in graphical programs. So it should work let's see if this works in other programs. Yep. So what I've got here is Meld, which is a diff viewer, and what I wanted to illustrate is that Nautilus is used by other programs as a sort of file manager, file picker to pick files. So as you can see here, when I select a file, and this is sort of Nautilus come up here, I go to the downloads folder, you can see that the Firefox temp folder is excluded from view. But again, I can press Control H to actually show and hide the files there. But that means that this technique of actually using the .hidden file in directories for Nautilus will work on other applications as well. So you can use this to, hide any folders that you don't want to show up, in the GUI here. And again, you can also hide them using the ls command. I'm not sure what the syntax is here. If you need to separate, include multiple files, I guess it would just be a space and another file to exclude. Yeah, you might have to have a look at the manual for that one. But those are the 4 ways we can exclude stuff, both graphically and on the command line. And again, these techniques will allow you to hide anything. Obviously, it's not a security thing; it's just a visual thing. Just so we don't have these files that sort of clutter your system up, and you just want to hide them visually. But again, you can just either press Control H when you're in the graphical program to show them, or use ls with the -a option to show them on the command line. So I hope that helps. If you're using a Snap version of Firefox and you want to hide the Firefox temp directory across your system, both graphically and on the command line, or if you want to use this technique to hide any other files that sort of been bothering you and you just rather not see. That's all for now, and I'll put links to this document under the video.